Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video, a wrestling video. We haven't seen one of these in a while, and honestly, kind of thinking about getting back into it. For sure, pay-per-views, thinking of maybe doing something here and there, but I'm not quite sure. What I want to know your guys' feedback on it. I really enjoyed the stream tonight, even though it didn't have a ton of views and all this and that, just because it was one of those things where, I mean, we're not a wrestling channel. We don't have a lot of wrestling content. I mean, we only had 3 wrestling videos before making this. And so I wasn't surprised by that. But it's something I enjoy doing. It's something that I've been getting a little bit more back into. Just because, I'm not going to lie, WWE pushed me away for a little bit. Pushed me to AEW. Anyways, though. So we had the 2022 Royal Rumble. Now, I always watch the Royal Rumble because I always enjoy the Royal Rumble. Because even the worst Royal Rumble match you will get is still worth watching. There are a lot of matches that are bad, but they're not even worth watching. The Royal Rumble, it's worth watching. It's something that's unique. You see it once a year, kind of like the Money in the Bank ladder match a bit. But so, I mean, this Royal Rumble was solid. It was solid. I wouldn't say. Now, I don't think either Rumble match was as good as the 2020 Royal Rumble. That was a special one. Now, one of the biggest issues... Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait to get into the Royal Rumble matches because I want to go in order. So, first match that we had on the card was Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns obviously being the Universal Champion and Rollins being the challenger. So, a few things to note here. First off, the fact that Seth came to the ring with the Shield soundtrack, with the Shield music, and it is Shield attire, is perfect. Because the whole thing about this new Seth Rollins is he's laughing about he's like the Joker. He's the Joker of WWE. He laughs at you. He gets in your head like that. And this entire match is Rollins screwing with Reigns, which then eventually leads to the finish that you get. But it was one of those things where both guys were really good in the ring. I loved... Rollins was laughing the whole time. Rollins was having way too much fun in this. And I say that as a good thing. It was so refreshing to see him have as much fun as he did in the ring, as opposed to, sometimes you'll get a match where it's just like, the usual moves. You throw them into the corner, you give them a clothesline, you give them a few punches, kicks, maybe you throw them over the rope, you hit them down, and, suplex here, suplex there, but not a Lesnar suplex. I'm just talking a normal suplex and this and that. Just not really anything special. But seeing a guy like dance on the ringside and then go for a springboard jump and then just be like down on the ground after getting slammed and then he's just laughing it off is just there's something so hysterical about it. I really enjoyed it, and it made this match really enjoyable, even though a lot of the moves and what they were doing wasn't necessarily that big. It was just the way it was presented that made it really good. And it really was telling a really good story, which led to the finish that it got, which overall I actually was okay with. I was okay with this finish. This finish, I'm assuming, screwed with a ton of people's predictions that bet any money on this, because we all knew that Reigns wasn't losing the title, but a DQ finish is not what we were expecting. Anyways, on to the second one. The second match of the evening, which is the Women's Royal Rumble. I think this is the match of the evening. The Women's Royal Rumble was better than the men's one this year. And one of the biggest things in a long time happened today, and the forbidden door opens up in this match, but we'll get to it later. So, overall, we have Ronda Rousey returning and winning. So, there were 4 different options that I had predicted that one of the 4 will win. So it was Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, and I assumed that she would return. That was one of my predictions. And Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was the one I kind of wanted the least to win. Just because Ronda Rousey, even though she hasn't been around super, super long in the WWE, when all things considered, as opposed to superstars like Natalya or whatnot, she has this status to where she can almost demand a title match and just be given it, kind of like Charlotte. Not quite as much as Charlotte, but kind of like Charlotte. And so I was kind of hoping for someone else to win. Liv Morgan being the big one. Liv Morgan needs to be champion sometime. I like Bianca Belair, but she won last year, so, give her some time off. I like Rhea Ripley, but give her some time off. But Alexa Bliss was another big one, and Bayley was another one. And I'd like to see Bayley sometime return, full car salesman balloons and all. But anyway, so Ronda Rousey would win, but let's get to the big talking point of this. Mickie James, the Impact Women's Knockouts World Champion, makes an appearance here, and we knew this was going to happen, but two things we were questionable about happening, both of them happened. So, Hardcore Cowboy, her music in Impact was used, and more importantly, the title, she brought it with her. It was on WWE programming. The WWE let a foreign company, or not a foreign company, let another company have their title on their program. If you don't realize how massive this is, I think this is the biggest moment of the evening. Just seeing that, and it was I was shocked. I was blown away, because it was one of those things where, if you had told me 6 months ago that someday WWE would have an Impact title and Impact music and whatnot be playing on their program, I would have said you were out of your fucking mind. WWE is known for being one of the most stubborn companies for being the most stubborn company in professional wrestling and refusing to work with others. They, whenever guys come in there from the indies, they change their names, they do this and that, they try to basically discount everything they did prior to WWE. There are only a few exceptions, being AJ Styles, where he went right onto the main roster, bypassing NXT, but that was because of how long he was in TNA and how big of a repertoire he had built, or reputation, sorry. But this is massive. This is one of those things where, and I think it's because WWE doesn't view Impact Wrestling as a threat, and to be fair, they're not. But so I don't really see them doing anything with AEW quite soon, which is a little unfortunate. But I don't think it's completely out of the picture to say that this is the last time we see any wrestlers from Impact showing up on there, or the last time that we see, I could maybe even see a company like Ring of Honor maybe having some sort of connection there. New Japan, maybe, just because they're from overseas. AEW, it'll be a long time before that happens, sadly. Even though AEW wrestlers occasionally get name dropped. Jon Moxley, you were name dropped on WWE programming when they were talking about the Reigns versus Rollins match. They said that Reigns used to be in a stable with Seth and Mox. So, he didn't even say Dean, which was surprising to me, but I heard that happened on SmackDown or Raw in the past week. So afterwards I was kind of okay, well, that makes sense. But anyways, so huge deal. Loved it. Hope more of this happens. Because now there's one thing though, is that as big as this was, if you didn't tell everyone that Mickie James is gonna be there, it would have been so much bigger and so much better. WWE released way too many names to be in the Rumble. Way too many. Because in my opinion, for a Royal Rumble, you should release as few names as possible. So that way, you keep the 25 out of the 30 men were released ahead of time. Only 5 were not. Which is just brutal. Come on, guys. What on earth is that? That is not good. It just felt like when I saw a bunch of entrances, it was just oh yeah, cross this name off the list. It removed something. It removed something that makes the Rumble so special. But anyways, I'll stop ragging on that. And we'll get to Becky Lynch versus Doudrop. Please change your name. Doudrop is a terrible, terrible wrestling name. I think her actual name, or her old wrestling name or something, was Piper Nixon or something like that. Which, it's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than Doudrop. I'm sorry, if you're ever gonna get this girl over, I think you gotta go with something else, because Like just imagine, and the new WWE Women's Champion is Doudrop. Really? Like, it just doesn't work. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of Doudrop. Now I will say this. This match, I did think she did change my mind a little bit on that. It was really nice seeing some moves from like King Kong Bundy, Vader, and whatnot be utilized by a modern wrestler. It was nice seeing that, and she had an interesting moveset. I think that give her a little bit more time to refine her skills and be able to do a little more variety in her moveset to really make her stand out. I could see you possibly eventually putting the title on her. Now, I think WWE has to drop the whole... Because I think WWE really needs to expand their women's division. I don't think they have enough. I think... Because you need to do one of two things. You either need to make the women's division bigger and have more wrestlers, or you need to go from 2 world titles down to 1 and then have a minor title, kind of like how AEW has the TBS champion and then the AEW World Women's Champion, because they have about probably the same amount of wrestlers when it comes to female wrestlers. AEW may have slightly less, but I don't know. It feels like almost this, like a lot of the time, like it feels like there's too many titles for so short of people. So I think you have to either increase the number of people or decrease the number of world titles. So that's just my opinion on it. Becky Lynch would win this match, and I thought overall it was all right. It was a solid match. But then we would get on to Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. So this one would be interesting because this is when I really started to get fed up with those 3D animation bullshit that you see on the TV. Like, it's so extra. It's too much. It's just, like, I'm not going to lie, this is one of the things that has pushed me away from WWE and towards AEW. When I watch AEW, I feel like I am watching professional wrestling, and I feel like I am in the stadium and I'm like going, holy crap, he just did that, and like I'm immersed in the action. Kind of a little bit like the way that WCW was. But, I mean, WWF, which is now WWE, was not nearly what they are now, simply because they couldn't with technological advancements, because, the 90s and early 2000s didn't have nearly as much of that. But, like, all this, like, these graphics, like, it's way too much. It feels like I'm at, like, in the movie set. It doesn't feel... It doesn't feel real. There's not like this real raw feeling to it that I wanted, especially for, one of their shows being called Monday Night Raw. Raw doesn't have a raw feel. That's not good. Anyways, so cut the bullshit on that. That needs to go. Go with all the crazy pyro. That's fine. That's great. But this 3D anime, get rid of that. But yeah, this is where I started to get fed up with that. Match overall was pretty good. I liked it when he was, Lesnar was getting into a suplex routine, and then Bobby Lashley did one on Lesnar, because it was one of those things where I was like, oh, okay, Lesnar, you're not wrestling a guy like, John Cena, who doesn't use a suplex really in his moveset. You're wrestling a guy who has that there. You gotta mix it up a little. I wish they kind of dragged that out just a little more, with, Lashley maybe replicating it and then doing a second and third time when he would still like hold on what Lesnar did with his suplexes. I think that would have been really nice. But overall, it was nice to see what they did there. But then Reigns would interfere in this match because fuck it, why not? Reigns is in a shitty mood from earlier tonight. And then here's the big one. I was not expecting this. Paul Heyman betrays Brock Lesnar to go back to Roman Reigns. So I think they're going to try to play this off in the coming weeks as this was basically all the plan to get Heyman close to Lesnar and then screw him over and whatnot. So now we're going to have, a Lesnar versus Reigns feud going forward, which I have no problem with. I have a problem with the way they enforce this to happen. But I'll get to that when we get to the Men's Royal Rumble. So overall, surprising finish overall, not bad, good shit. But then we get on to Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Miz and Maurice. So, first off, Corey Graves in this match was... Why do you have... I don't like Byron Saxton, but you don't have to be so much of a dick to him. Good God. And Corey Graves was the star of this match. He was just fucking hilarious. It was so ridiculous, the things that he was saying. I like some of the dynamics that they had were at the start where they were they'd tag out and then Maurice would run away and they'd do this and that. It was nice. I mean, when you have a mixed gender tag, that's kind of inevitable because, you have the rules of the man can't hit the woman can't hit the man and all that, which eventually goes straight to shit by the end of the match. But still, it's nice to see them, kind of showing how this match is unique to other matches in a sense. So that's fine. Really not much to it though. Edge and Beth Phoenix would win over Miz and Mrs., I'll say, because they have a show called Miz and Mrs., and it's actually not bad. It's actually kind of good. It's kind of funny sometimes. But anyways, let's get on to the Men's Royal Rumble, because that's really the next main part of this, which Brock Lesnar would win. Why? Why? So Reigns screwing over Lesnar in his match is enough of a reason to have Lesnar versus Reigns at Mania. That is enough of a reason for that to be a title match. You don't need any more justification. So why have him win the Rumble? Give that to somebody else and have them face Bobby Lashley. Or if you really want, have Bobby Lashley lose it to someone else in the Elimination Chamber. And then, am I the only guy that wants to see Dolph Ziggler go on another title run? Because I think, this is just my opinion. Imagine this, okay? Dolph Ziggler finally gets that another title run. It's great, and it's long overdue. It would be his third world title run, I believe. We'd be really excited. All would go great. But eventually, Dolph Ziggler turns heel with the world title. And this would be another good way to build up Robert Roode as well. Just because his character has kind of died out a bit. So I think through Dolph Ziggler being world champion, you could do that. But then have him turn heel and have him go against Cesaro. And then eventually when you decide to have Cesaro win, because I really want Cesaro to be world champion sometime. He totally deserves it. The guy is stronger than you could possibly believe. And he's really a great in-ring performer. I really think that Ziggler would be such a good way to put him over because of how good Ziggler can sell it. Ziggler would be able to sell Cesaro as a valid, legitimate threat on the world title level. And I think that could be a really special thing. But, I mean, yeah. So that would have been what I would have done. But, I mean, if we talk about this Men's Royal Rumble match, it was okay. It was okay. It was kind of ruined by the fact that they revealed so much in advance. Bad Bunny, which when I saw it, I was like, this is a surprise entrance? But you know what? He did a Canadian Destroyer, so that makes up for it. When I saw him line it up, I was like, oh, he's going to do it again. The mad lad is going to do it again. And just awesome. Awesome. I am a sucker for Canadian Destroyers. Why do you think I love AEW wrestling so much? I love it. It's awesome. It's perfect. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. Love it. And Bad Bunny has got to be... I think he's probably the best celebrity wrestler where a guy who's not a wrestler was in. Shaq was good. But I don't think Shaq is as good as Bad Bunny when it came to in-ring performance. I actually have been really impressed with Bad Bunny. He had, in my opinion, that match at Mania last year was probably the best celebrity match. The best match where the celebrity was in it. Because I don't count the Battle of the Billionaires because Trump wasn't in the match, so you can't count that. But Bad Bunny was, and so I was once again impressed by Bad Bunny. Good crossbody, good Canadian Destroyer. One thing I really like was Chad Gable, who kind of vouched for everyone to get together to get Amos out. And then right when he got him out, he put both hands in the air and he's like, my master plan, which I thought that was fucking hysterical. I thought it was great. But overall, this Royal Rumble pay-per-view, it was, yeah, it was good. You know, I mean, it was worth watching. It was long, 4 hours, and I didn't even watch like 3/4 of the pre-show. But, you know, it was something where I don't regret watching it, which that's good. You know, when you pay money to watch a pay-per-view, normally you shouldn't regret watching it. So thinking of possibly covering Elimination Chamber. I will cover WrestleMania. There's no doubt about that. Every WrestleMania moving forward, I will cover. You have to cover WrestleMania. But then possibly also looking at AEW Revolution, possibly covering. And who knows, maybe more, I don't know. So I want to hear your guys' comments down below, your guys' thoughts on all that. What was your thoughts on the 2022 Royal Rumble? What would you have done? Who would you have win? And what is your thoughts on Mickie James appearing on WWE programming with the Impact Women's Knockouts Championship? So make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys later.